I think a Live Long and Podcast inspired band called Coolant Lake.
Coolant Lake. There's a Coolant Lake.
They're headlining for Baltimore Fish, Dave.
Yeah, headline, yeah. They're going big things. We're on. We're live. We're live, by the way.
All right. So should I start on my lead? Okay. Welcome everybody to another edition of Deep Space Nine at 9ish. We're here getting through the slogs of season 2. Season 2, episode 16. Shadowplay is over and has been since 1994. But we are just getting started here, talking about this great episode that Dave is super pumped to talk about. The other two, not sure.
Shadowplay.
Joined by co-host Kevin Millard in the top right. We have Jaemeel Robinson in the bottom left, and aforementioned Dave Mater.
Jeff, I'm down here in the C storyline here, down here with Jake and Commander Sisko and O'Brien. I'm here in the C storyline.
Okay, you can take care of that. Kevin, first question.
Yeah,
we're going to ignore that storyline. We're going to talk about the fact that Dax is always horny and talking about romantic relationships with other people. What say you?
this is a great opening to the episode. I love this conversation with Dax and Odo, and the Jumja girl stick. The Jumja stick.
It always comes back to the Jumja.
I think this is the Jumja sticks.
I think that there's more acceptance of aliens now on the station. If a Bolian can run a Jumja stick station, things are progressing.
Dax is like, hey, you should take a notice of the Jumja bullying girl. She's giving you the eyes, talking about her dad's in law enforcement. Oh, sure.
She wants it.
And Jaemeel knows exactly what I am talking about. And what are your first takes on the cold open of the episode with the Dax and Odo? You know, we get the first ever, I think, science officer, log. I was like, geez.
Science officer's log here on the runabout.
Yeah.
So obviously Dax has the pulse on the station, because at this point she's got to have like notches in her bedposts that are like, is this part of the design of the bed? Because there's just so many. Right?
After 7 lifetimes, impersonal questions are not too fun for her anymore. So she gets down to business.
Exactly, she does, and that's why I guess it kind of relates. Like, there was never a Dax seduction episode where we just see her on the prowl, right? Is she in her own like Judd Apatow, wedding crashers, I'm gonna hit it a whole bunch of times type of scenario in some of these like background? She's like in the D story, getting the D. You see what I did there?
Yeah. In modern Trek, they definitely would explore this a lot more. But at the time, they kind of it's more innuendo, and kind of you have to sort of read between the lines a little bit here.
Innuendax, which means
Innuendax.
Yes.
Right. So they find this particle field on the other side of the wormhole because that's where Sisko sent Dax to go look for this. And Odo's like, hey, can I tag along? Because, I might find something about where I'm from. Right. That's basically the premise of the episode. They land on this planet because they find this particle, this particle thing. All these particles in one small valley. So they go to investigate. They land on this planet, and that's the cold open. What is this episode gripping you in any way, Jaemeel? I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, you know how it grips me? It's like Charlie Brown playing football with Lucy. Because did we not just see last week where Sisko and O'Brien went down to a planet to investigate something and then got trapped right there? Right?
Yes, and next week, it's Kira and Bashir's turn. You watch.
I'm like, bro. It's like, take the runabout down, right? Why can't the runabout land?
Can't they bring more than just 2 people on this mission? Like, can they have a station full of people?
They can't even get more than 1 ship around Earth at a time. Okay. How are they going to get 3 people in a runabout?
I don't know. It's in that episode from the same season as this, where like you saw, or no, maybe it was. I think it was this season, or maybe it was the last season of Next Gen, right? Where they have the whole episode where Picard and Data and Troy are on the runabout, and they have this whole aft compartment where it shows like you could hold a lot of people on this runabout. It's a big ship.
O'Brien offered to take about 80 people last episode with the runabout.
Exactly. right there.
right? But you only ever see the cockpit, and so you go, I guess, yeah, they can only bring 2 people. It makes sense because, anything more, it's a little crowded here at the very front, at the pilot's like controls, and they have a station full of like 300 people, and Oda was only here to like sightsee. He was only coming along to see if he might get a lead on where he came from.
Does he not have civvies?
This is what he does on his civvies.
He has one look.
Like, dude, change it up.
He could go back to what he wore during the occupation, but that might bring back some bad memories.
Kira's not there.
That's true. Jax wouldn't care.
Yeah, that's just his costume. That's all that's just like, that's your costume, Odo, and that's what you wear. So that's kind of, I think that's really the only explanation you can.
It's kind of garbage as an actor where you're like, did you get to keep your wardrobe? But he's like, yep.
Speaking of which, that's exactly what we kind of have a conversation with here with Quark and Kira to start off after the cold open, the credits.
The storyline.
The kind of the G storyline here we have with Quark and Kira talking about, oh, you don't trust me. And she's like, oh, you worked with the Cardassians. He's like, yeah, but whatever. It's kind of pretty great.
I despise you.
I'm nice now. What do you want?
Yeah,
right?
He's like, I was just making money. What do you want? She's like, I'm watching you.
It's a shame that this did not tie into Dax's original statement. It's like, does Quark love you? You didn't know. I despise you.
Yeah, this whole storyline is like, okay, Quark's cousin robbed a bank on Cardassia 5 and is bringing a whole bunch of illegal stuff, and Quark is eager to sort of move it or something and make a profit. I love at the end where he goes, oh, I always do whatever his cousin's name, Bolo. I always do Bolo was no good, or whatever his name is. I thought that was great. Like this like they were trying to create a dynamic here, and Quark's whole plan, he's like, I'll just bring her love interest and she'll be distracted and I can run my schemes. And on paper, it sounds good. I don't know if it fully works.
It's a movie.
Anything with Ryle doesn't work.
Exactly. Right. But
okay,
it's a like, was it romantic comedy trope? What he tried to do, right? Literally.
That's true. Okay, but what about the stuff here where we're with Jake and his father? It's kind of told more from Jake's point of view. I feel like the whole episode that classic story. Father's like, oh, you really got to go to like Starfleet or the military or whatever a father or a parent wants you to really do. He doesn't really want to do that, mainly because he wants to like pave his own way. He wants to go hang out with Quark, and he's like, you should go hang out with O'Brien, which I would choose Quark over O'Brien too.
Question here: when will you start doing Enterprise and Voyager? We are going to do those shows at some point, but we have a 3.5 year journey on Deep Space Nine, and we're still doing original series
get
right
more
now.
wine if that's the case.
Yeah, we will get there though. We're going to do Enterprise. We're going to do Enterprise first before we even get to Voyager or Next Gen for that matter. So it's kind of not exactly intuitive. Sorry, Jeff. No, but we're here we're talking about Deep Space Nine at 9 ish. That's a show that was a 3.5 year journey, as Dave mentioned, of us talking about this show. Now, do we want to cover some episodes of the other shows at some point? I think we will once we're done original series. I think we're halfway there. We're halfway there, and then I think we'll tackle another show at that point. Jody's pushing Enterprise, and he wants Kevin on it.
It's the only way you guys will get me to watch that piece of shit. I have tried and tried and tried, and I just hate it.
You just have to do one at a time, one a week.
1.5 speed, dude. 1.5 speed.
You want to do like this one at a time.
Podcast. If I get to come on the podcast and tell you guys how much I hate it, I think I'll do it. I think I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'll be like, I'm going to warn you, Jody, before you extend that invitation.
And we got Adam Woodward on. He just talks about how much he loves it, or Jody. And we get the contrasting opinions. It'll be, the aggressive progressives.
I can't wait to revisit that. Yes, but and maybe I'll appreciate it more. But this show, Jeff, Deep Space Nine, I think this is a good story here. I think that this was at the time in 1994. I think that this whole Jake not wanting to follow in his father's footsteps, which is kind of, this is the first father-son depiction on any of the 3 Star Trek shows, really. Like and it's in terms of an ongoing relationship on the show. And it's I was kind of mad at Jake at the time. Like, what do you mean you want to be in Starfleet, man? Of course you should. But it makes sense in retrospect, that Jake has to be his own person, and that Sisko's acceptance of that, and all of that is plays out really well today. Especially. But even then, I think it was a little bit. It was a bit groundbreaking.
I would say there's some really good foreshadowing in this episode for sure, especially with Jake and with Sisko in general. I think we have a little bit with Odo as well.
The part I like the most about the Sisko and Jake conversation is he goes, I was thinking you could work with Chief O'Brien. And he goes, Chief O'Brien? And he goes, I thought you liked him. He goes, he's all right. Like
that's kind of how we feel. He's all right, he's the most important man in Starfleet, but he's nobody's favorite. Nobody ever says I love Chief O'Brien. They're like, yeah, it's all right.
He's only Bashir
says that.
Only Bashir loves O'Brien.
Yeah, not even Keiko, not Molly.
No,
maybe
not
Hiroyoshi. I don't know.
Molly barely knows who he is. Especially when she went into the warp tunnel, but that's another episode for another day. We're talking about Shadowplay. Okay,
Shadowplay.
Odo and Dax go to a planet, and all right, so they meet all these people wearing war robes, and they're in like the valley, like they're in this like weird valley that they never leave. People are disappearing, and they're like, okay, we got to figure this out.
Jeff, all those people, I was like, is this like an entire valley of people who are like people who run markets in like RPGs, like what,
it felt like a video game. Yeah, I agree. It did. It kind of felt like like I was in Zelda or like Assassin's Creed, and I had to like go around and get enough gold to get out of there. That was kind of like what the vibe of.
I thought the shirts especially were interesting design here.
It was like, how about you wear about 5 shirts and just like make them all kind of like beige or white.
And the ladies were like Flintstone characters with these bones in their hair.
Metal
Did Mr.
bones? T know about this? Was he supposed to like lead the village? Like, what's with all the chains?
How many beads did he need around?
They're bead happy. They like to wear these chef's hats, and they kind of wear like sort of these golf shirts.
And they have medallions. They wear a medallion.
Yeah, and they wear bones in their hair. 3 bones, like Wilma Flintstone.
This might be one of like she's an annoying kid for Star Trek, but she's one of the least annoying kids.
Annoying?
I know. Of all the kids in Star Trek, she was one of the least. I was trying to get least annoying. You go through Alexander's and you go through the bunch.
She was good in this episode, Jeff. She was evil in the other one.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, she's not Naomi Wildman.
No, she is the one who played Clara Sutter. No, she was good in the other one too. She was good in both.
She would have slapped Alexander.
Remember the episode where the girl's got the imaginary friend who turns out to be an evil alien?
That's in TNG. Yeah.
So that Clara girl, she also played the good one though, not the evil one.
Yeah,
she did. Yeah, but she could have played evil.
I like this interaction between her and Odo because it actually reminds you that Odo, even though he's a grumpy old man character, he's a child,
right?
So he relates to her really well. Like they really get along, and I think it is because he is also very young.
Yeah. This is a great episode for Odo.
Yeah.
Is it a great episode for him? I mean, there's some nice things I enjoy. I think he has some growth, but not really. He doesn't really ultimately find anything out about who he is or where he's from. He kind of more finds like this inner strength to kind of like tell people, hey, find love in your heart and love, don't let your mind convince you that you don't deserve this. Or it's kind of what he was saying to to the one guy. I'm kind of ruining it, but the one guy at the end of the episode here that is living in this holographic projection, and he's like just created this, and he was just going to live in it forever, but then decides at one point.
Why, Jeff? Why did he build that hologram?
Family porn.
Yeah, I had something to do with porn.
It's family porn. Like
his planet was conquered by the
Dominion.
It's a foreshadow to the Dominion, which will become a big deal on this show. So it's another kind of like subtle drop of that in the series in like the second season.
Did you all catch the subtle change in how Odo referred to himself? He's like, "I'm a shifter," and she's like, "Yeah, you mean a changeling?" Yes,
right. Right. It's like the introduction of the changeling term, which will become. They'll say it a lot more after this episode. I think this is the first time it's said.
She just straight up told him, like, changeling. No, you're changeling.
Even this idea of holograms as more than just like sort of dispensable, and they're people to, like, they had done this a little bit in Next Gen already, like with Moriarty and some of the other characters, but and obviously the Doctor in Voyager would definitely carry that torch forward. But this is another example of, like later on Odo's speech of like, why should you care if a hologram cries and all that. That was I was crying, and I thought Odo and was really strong. I don't know if he grows as a person as much as he stays to kind of who he is, but
it's a hypocritical speech, because if he doesn't turn around and go straight and shut down those holosuites, then it's just BS.
Well, okay, wait. Okay, we can get into like the minutia of photonic rights, because I think that some holograms maybe have a little bit more sentience than other holograms.
This is the whole argument.
Oh my God, Dave! What did you just say?
I know. You see,
well, this is the whole argument of
Holy shit!
This is I'm gonna get canceled for that.
This is the whole argument here. Like, is the EMH from season 7, is he the same thing in your mind as the EMH from like season 1, of episode 1? Is he the same thing? Is he because he's lived in this world and built relationships, is now that you know what I mean?
I think a program as sophisticated as the EMH always has the potential to be whatever they want to be, but like not all holograms. Some holograms are just like, like they're more like they're not like they're just holograms. Like they're just simulated. They're simulation. They're not
simulation. They're fictional.
They're fictional characters. Like the same thing as the holographic bird. It's not a real bird. It's not programmed to feel pain or think or do anything like that.
Actually, it is programmed to feel pain.
The bird
reacts.
So this is the argument that Odo is fighting against at the end of the episode, Dave. He's saying to you, no, you do love her, and she loves you, and Dax is in on it too. She's all in the big love fest. And, they're like, you go live in your fictional world. The Dominion destroyed your world, but it's better that you live in your fictional world where you're happy rather than turn it off and be sad. That's basically the end of the episode, right?
Well, yeah, that's like the story, and I think it's a good story. I think that and I think that the fact that the what's her name, Taya, right, the girl, that she is an original hologram. They admit this, that like he didn't create her; she's a creation of his software and an evolution of the program. And so,
does the holograms have a baby?
Yeah, the holograms were he left the program open ended, and they're a little bit more sophisticated than holograms by all accounts. This is a special transporter that is akin to transporters or replicators, where there's an antimatter mixture going on here.
Transporter. Where Odo uses the transporter, the guy's like, "Oh, where did he go?"
Yeah. But there were some holes here, and I agree, Jaemeel, because there was the one point where he's like, where did he go? But then they're like, did you scan for transporter signals? He's like, first thing I did. So know what a transporter is.
The first thing I did.
I thought that too. I was like, wait a minute.
So it's either a flaw or he was just playing like
And
he
it
knew
was
what they
like
were
2 sentences
straight up
later.
inept.
It's not even like it was later in the episode.
Protector Coilus, his name was.
Dude, he is not protecting nothing.
No,
Kenneth Mars.
He couldn't even protect his scarf from disappearing.
he couldn't even pronounce hologram properly.
On top of a hologram.
Hologram.
Holograms.
Well, if I'm a hologram, that's something else.
Oh, Lord.
He
Nice
was,
hat.
He was-
okay.
yeah.
I kind of want to bring up the scene with O'Brien and Jake, where O'Brien's like basically being his dad, and he's like, "Hey, man, you just got to tell your dad what you want to do." You know, he's kind of being like the
More like cool uncle.
cool uncle dad.
Yeah.
Cool
older
Uncle
cousin.
Brian.
He's like, "Listen, if you don't want to do engineered stuff, you know, don't. You know, it sucks."
Hey, Jeff, let me ask you a
Is that
question.
what he
I got a
says?
I got a
As he
question.
wants
My question is: so far, we get more of O'Brien's backstory in this episode to
Yes.
pair with the previous episode with him and Julian. So he
Yes, he was a
growing up
cellist.
a
Yes,
cellist dating a ballerina, right?
yes,
Yes.
He had it made. He had the world in front of him.
Right. He gets an invitation to what was the invitation to?
The all wait, he says the Aldebaran Music Academy.
Yeah, Debrin.
Aldebaran.
Was that what the father of the ballerina was providing him, which he turned around and went to Starfleet?
I'm wondering if all these stories are BS because, like, how can both these things be true?
I agree, Dave. I think he's a
time.
I think he's a bullshit artist. I think I
And he
really
also,
do.
remember when he told Picard he made trips in a bottle?
Circumstances.
What?
I can't
What-
see him playing a cello under any circumstance.
Yeah, like when
Oh,
it,
yeah. There was an episode where he literally was playing the cello with Data. I'm sure of it.
well, you find that for me, Dave,
maybe.
because I
Now
don't.
that you mention it, I think you might be right.
But it never once ever happens on D69. It never shows it in his quarters, you know, sitting in the corner.
He hates
You know,
I always forget about Next Gen and O'Brien.
yeah.
But like, why? Give me. You know what? Star Trek. That's your next show. I want an O'Brien prequel series.
All right.
Get him at what he was like as a cellist. He had who he was going against, the best Vulcans and the best, you know, whoever from around the Federation going
Getting
against
into
O'Brien.
Starfleet. You know, messing with some Cardis. You
Yeah.
know, like that's what I want to see.
Smash some glasses on some heads.
I don't need Picard season 2. I need
All right,
O'Brien.
nobody does.
I need O'Brien.
No, we didn't need season 1.
No,
Move
we
forward.
thought we did. We were wrong.
What?
There he is. Holy shit.
Oh, him and Data.
Does Call Meany actually play the cello? Is that why this happened?
Maybe he
You
might
gotta look it up.
have.
You gotta look it up, Dave.
you gotta find. Okay,
Blow
I
my
will
mind.
look that up, but I gotta say that O'Brien's story. Yeah, he was dating a ballerina. His dad wanted to be a cello player. He was going to go to the Aldebaran Music Academy, which is on Aldebaran or Delbra, because you know that green stuff that Scotty likes to drink and get drunk on.
Yeah.
That's Aldebaran whiskey.
Aldebaran
So it's
whiskey.
the same planet. So that's where O'Brien would have went. But he said, no, I want to go into Starfleet. And by all accounts, he said he went into Starfleet, knew nothing about engineering, was just like a guy, I guess, like whatever you want me to do. And like he almost got killed at Stellar 3, had to fix a transporter, and then he got made a security officer or a
Yes.
security relief guy.
That's
Like,
the only way you can ever fix anything is just by intuition.
why would
and-
he want this? Why would he enter Starfleet just to like, okay, I'm gonna go after the
He
Cardassian War?
didn't want to get locked down with his ballerina girlfriend and be with the cellist. They should have had a ballerina girlfriend come back and meet.
So,
Kate.
so Cole Meany actually does play the cello, and he has written several classical pieces and has guest performed with the London Symphony Orchestra. So I think it was just a thing they shoehorned into O'Brien's character, which because it does make no sense. Why would you be like this musician, drama, artsy fartsy person, and then go, "Hey, I want to go turn some wrenches," you know, working on warp cores? That doesn't make
Well,
any
no,
sense.
and in the middle of a war, like
Yeah.
you know, because
Well, he does hate Cardassians, and he may have wanted to just kill some.
Yeah.
From that age, he's like, no, I music is not in my heart. I need to go.
I know.
Maybe
you
the
need to
ballerina
go
dumped him
party.
for Cardassian, and he was like, "I'm gonna kick some Cardi ass." And
Or
I
look
can't
at it more from, I had to go protect people from Cardassians.
I can't kill a Cardassian with a bow.
From the Cardassian.
I see that. I see what you did there. I followed you. I walked you into the store, and then you just went right for it. Great job,
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah. Cashier out. Receipt. Thank you very much. Okay, so what else was I going to ask? Okay, so what do you make of this relationship with the old man that is the guy that is the real guy? That they kind of grow to like this guy, but they kind of feel sorry for him too, I think. And what did you make of those relationships, Jaemeel, with Dax, Odo, and the old man? I forget his name.
Rumigan.
The relationship.
Meh.
Look. I'm telling you. Today I watched this episode. I came home from work. I sat down, started watching the episode, fell asleep. I then went and got something to eat. Tried watching the episode, fell asleep. I had to watch the show on 1.5 speed to get through it, to kind of trick my brain into stuff as much story as possible in it before the light shut down again. Right? And I was able to sneak through it. I was barely able to make it through.
What do you mean? They only waste like 3.5 minutes, like looking for berries in the forest.
That is the part that's boring, right? The investigation is boring, right? The conversations are boring, right?
You're watching them too fast. You're watching them on 1.5 speed.
We haven't even
The only way I could get through it.
we haven't even talked about the Kira and Vedic Barile seed, their whole.
Jeez.
I mean, it really is boring. I mean, it might be the most boring thing about this episode. I forgot it was in the episode.
What a man.
What a man.
Oh, man. A religious man.
Strong.
Wanna play spring ball? Let's go play spring ball.
Yeah, Barile.
I love Pajo and lilacs.
Kyle.
Okay.
It's boring. I hate the romance. I hate it all, Jeff. It's the worst part of this.
Fade out. I mean, it's important because he's, something's going to happen to him later, and it's going to be sort of important.
They're going to write him off the show because no one likes him.
Yeah, but Kira won't be very happy about it.
Yeah,
It's all right. She'll get over it several times.
yeah.
That's true because he'll come back. Okay. I don't even know where to go with this, guys. Dave, where does this all kind of come into a bow for you with this episode? I mean, it's kind of a Dax Odo episode, which is kind of strange.
Dax in it? What does Dax do in this episode?
Nothing, but she's there. She's there.
Like the whole plot could have the whole plot with Dax and Odo and the village and everything that could have been given to any Star Trek show. That could have been given to a Voyager. It could have been given to a Next Gen. It wouldn't have mattered, right? There's some interesting dynamics here with Kira and Quark. I guess they tried to make this sort of like the sort of backup adversary to Quark. They will re-explore this a few times, but I don't think that they have some chemistry together. But on the rewatches, I think she comes across way worse. But I think at the time she probably seemed more heroic in the initial take on it. And then the whole story with Jake, I think if he's a main cast member, so I think that this is the direction to go with his character. They will, it will. I think it gets better with Jake. I start to like Jake more as once he gets out of these onesie unitard things. He gets better. And a little whinier though.
He's joining the Running Man, don't you know?
He'll do the Running Man. He's running from explosions and whatever. I'm like, you should not be in Starfleet, Jake. You should stick to writing. But it's fine. I think it's memorable. I think this is a memorable season 2 episode. But it's slim pickings in this season, as you know.
So, yeah, for me, it doesn't do much for me. It just kind of, like you said, it could have been literally a Voyager or a TNG. It could have been an Enterprise episode, for God's sakes, and you would not have cared. It's just kind of like, yeah, like it's just two characters show up on a planet. It ends up being like one guy projecting a hologram thing.
Wait,
Any Star Trek, episode could have did this story.
And they did, Jeff. Guess what they did? They recycled this story in a show called Star Trek Enterprise, who recycled so many storylines from Next Gen, DS9, and Voyager, which was my biggest criticism of that show, is that they, that's why I really tuned out. I was like, you're just serving me the same shit again. I've seen this episode. I've seen this story. You're recycling. And Odo, because they brought Rene Auberjonois back, right? And he basically, in that Enterprise episode, plays another alien who is taking the place of this older guy, Rumigan, who is a similar type of a character or figure.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Maybe like Rene Auberjonois really loved this story for whatever reason. He was like, I really want to do it. And then he's like, I want to do it again. Let's do it again.
No, I just think he wanted a job. I think that when they went into the Enterprise area, I think they were assuming that they were going after this what would become like the CW audience, right? And at the time the WB, that maybe fans like us had already tuned out, which I think largely we had. But so hey, I can just serve you the same story that I served the crowd many years ago because it's a new generation, but it really kind of wasn't. It wasn't really supposed to be that. It was supposed to kind of be for everybody.
It hadn't been long enough. And that's why like Star Trek should have done a next generation now, because it's been long enough since the next generation, instead we get Discovery.
There were some next gen episodes that were like remakes of original series, sort of in the first season, but they weren't really successful.
They weren't really remakes. They had like some of the same ideas, but they did change them enough that they're not. I can't think of any episodes that are like that strike me as the same between
Naked Now and Naked Time or whatever it's called. When they want to get drunk.
Okay, but that is an actual callback to the show. Like
right.
They acknowledge that in the show.
That's the most direct. That's the most obvious one. But there's other like more subtle examples. And then Deep Space Nine would do it more because they weren't as they were trying to distance themselves more from next gen than from original series.
Yeah,
so they would do way more original series references and stuff like that. So you have to almost skip a generation.
Okay. All right. Moving on. We're talking about Shadowplay here on D69 and 9ish. Jaemeel, I need your hot take here. I need why. I already asked Kevin kind of this question, but why Dax? Is she hitting on Odo a little bit at the beginning of this episode?
She's testing the waters.
She wants gossip. She wants to know if he's a virgin.
Yeah.
And she's like, am I going to take this? I'm going to take it. She had, like, as I mentioned, the notches on her bed. She probably has like a trill checklist. And she's like, seven different lifetimes. No changelings yet. Wants to check that off.
Yeah, she was willing to have sex with Morn. Yeah.
Well, she was willing to go on a date with Morn. I don't,
Wow. She said she thought he was cute with his whiskers.
That's 90s talk for sex, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. That's Becker talk. That's Central Perk.
Yeah, I think that this episode is good. I think Rene Auberjonois was good. I think that there's some of the music accompaniment works in those scenes. I think that there's strong emotion from Terry Farrell as Dax is the weakest of that storyline in that acting group. Even the protector Coilus gives a better performance. Like she seems a little bit out of her element, and she's just kind of doing what the lines they give her, and she does them fine. But it's not like she's most got at home in that runabout with just Rene Auberjonois in that one scene where she's trying to be like she's pushing his buttons, she's sort of being annoying, she's prying, she's trying to get the gossip on him, but it's kind of showing him how vulnerable he is, how lonely he is as a person.
It's
that
also the beginning of her antagonizing him. Remember later on he gets mad because she sneaks into his quarters and moves stuff.
Yeah, so that's a good point. That they would continue this.
There's a lot of stuff going on with Dax that we never see.
Yeah.
We
Right.
just hear about it.
Yeah, there's all the stuff she does behind the scenes. She plays Tongo all night. She's messing with
Anybody
Odo.
with her.
Anybody. She marries Worf, and like that's kind of out of nowhere, right? So it's she's a great character. It makes me sad knowing where she dies. Not Terry Farrell, though. She's still
Doesn't make me sad at all. It was fine. It's not like I look back on an episode like this and go, "Oh, wow, what a great use of Dax."
not now, but it's a little bit. Because there's good stuff that comes after. These little things do add up in some ways that you can get a little bit of joy, but overall, it doesn't make the episode more than it is. Which if it's just kind of
look, Dave, we're up to season 2, episode 16 or whatever it is.
Mhm.
All I know about Dax is she likes to have sex. She'll basically have sex with anything. And whenever
That's not, okay, I think that's taking it a little far. I don't think you can, maybe I think she likes to have sex. I think we can
Don't protect.
What I'm trying to say is
sex with anything, but she considers it.
What I'm trying to
she would be open-minded. She would be open-minded.
She's open-minded, and
Yes,
that's what I'm trying to
that's
say.
fair. Yeah.
Okay, and nor often when an episode has started with her, it's like either her talking to Kira or she's talking to Cisco about it, and then I was like, okay, here she is with Odo, the one guy who doesn't have sex or doesn't care about anything like that. And still, that's what their conversation was about, which I thought was really interesting because I'm like, who is Dax? I feel like we know way more about Kira. I feel like we know way more about Cisco, about most of the other characters on the show so far. And Dax is like this one character, like you said, like, oh, she's playing Tonga. Oh, she's really into Klingon stuff. Oh, she's like got all these different 7 personalities that has all these different lifetime of knowledge. But we don't really know who she is and what she does. I feel
she
like
says she has she said she talks about in the when they stole her symbiote, right, in the first season or whatever it was, where she says, I got a mother and a sister who live productive lives as non-joined Trill and whatever. Right. But when she gets married, they don't even come to the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normies, I ain't inviting them.
Yeah.
It's a Klingon wedding.
It was a Klingon wedding on a space station.
I think too, unfortunately, they actually spend more time trying to develop Ezri's character than they ever did Dax.
I agree. Yes,
we know way more about Ezri. We know about her life. We know we met her siblings. We all this kind of stuff.
Dax is this mysterious character.
Jadzia Dax.
Jadzia Dax. Yeah, is like this mysterious hot science officer that is friends with everybody. Everybody loves her, and then she dies tragically. And it's this character that I feel like if she hadn't died, I feel like it would have been all right. We would have got a few more episodes of her and Worf arguing.
It would have been fine. It sucked that she left the show when she did. It would have sucked if any of them left. If Colmini had left at end of season 6 and wasn't there for season 7, that wouldn't have been as good. So she was part of this group, and I
agree.
And she should have been there till the end. It was one more season. What the, it's they could have found a way to keep her in the show and her to go do Becker too. They could have found a way, I think, if they really wanted to. They could have reduced her episode count.
Even she didn't want to go do Becker.
And they didn't want to do it. They knew they could also, it was probably budgetary. They knew that they could pay Nicole DeBoer a lot less than they would have to pay Terry Farrell for a 7th season. And they're and it will give us a chance to write new stories with Dax. So great. Let's just do that.
I think they had, in my opinion, I feel like they had run out of stuff with Jadzia as a back, her backstory is non-existent compared to Ezri, we've just mentioned. And I feel like by the time they got to the end of season 6 and they're going into season 7, really all they had was her and Worf, and it would have been basically comedic, romantic. It would have been rom-com scenes, because it was. If you watch the end of season 6, it's all rom-com stuff between Worf and Dax. And so I feel like it gave Worf also a great opportunity to grieve and have a bunch of episodes where they had something,
I'll
there
fight
was
that battle with you in 2 years, Jeff, when we talk about that episode or whatever it is. But
when they go to Stovacor and they have to avenge the soul of Jadzia Dax. Yeah. not a favorite of Dave's.
No, like it makes me. I grieve, but not because of this episode. Not because she's good in this episode. She becomes more than this. And it's something to say that if you're patient with a show, like you can get gold out of it. But because we know that it gets better than this. This is not. She's kind of blah in this. And just to say, we know a ton more about Curzon than Jadzia.
Yeah.
Right. Like
for sure.
I think that's kind of like the unfortunate thing is when Jedzia comes in, Sisko's like, oh yeah, I knew you as Curzon Dax, so blah blah blah, and that's what they talk about all the time. So a ton of like her character development time, her share of the season gets used up by that. If they're going to talk about it at all, not about like when I was a girl and I was going to college and learning exobiology, whatever the heck she did before she became a joined one. Right? They talk about it a little, but it's way later. It's way later in the show.
And they also just throw it in like a little sentence like that. And then they just, whereas most of the time you're right, it's all about Curzon or one of her other hosts or, something like that, right? With Jadzia. So, yeah, for sure. And this episode, like, I feel like a lot of the other, if you plop Chakotay in there.
Ugh. Sliced bread.
We play this episode. Oh, sorry.
You're back.
Okay. If you pop a different Star Trek character into the Odo and Dax roles here, I mean, it's really you could literally have those characters deliver the same dialogue. It's a vanilla story, it really is.
Yeah, you could have put Worf and Data in this story instead, or you could have put I don't know, like Tuvok and 7 of 9 or something. I don't know. Like there's many variations.
I need to find some more vegetables on this planet for the
and throw Neelix in there maybe.
What do you think about Jake's onesie in this episode? He's got 2 maroon stripes going on. He's got a belt stripe and
he got a comm badge at least. His dad was happy he got to get the comm badge.
Yeah, he got a comm badge. He's going to be like a Wesley Crusher. That's what
they give it to him. He's like, it's standard for all station personnel, so
I think Jake is like, I don't want to be Wesley Crusher.
No, we're like, we don't want you to be Wesley Crusher either. And we learned a little bit those rods, those isolinear rods. Red ones are for library information.
Jody has a comment here, guys. He says Dax was never that interesting. Only her previous lives. I think it'd be, but he actually said pervious.
Well, interesting. They didn't tell us anything about her, like much other only in that episode Dax, which happened in the first season. It happened early, and they're like, "Yeah, before you were joined, you did all these great things, right?" Yep. And I was my own person. So if you kill Dax, you also kill Jadzia, and therefore that you're holding somebody accountable for something they didn't do. And so they gave us all this kind of information, but they never paid it off. Very well. It was always like, oh, when I was Curzon, I banged a lot of broads or whatever. It was,
for sure. Like as we talked about before, that I think Dax's character, like all her other hosts, are so like they go into such detail, and whereas with Jadzia, we just like again, like whenever there's a moment with her and another character, it's never like, hey, like when I was on Trill, or like it was a backstory about her parents or anything. Like usually, it's always like, hey, who do you think's cute? And I find it interesting that her character's written that way. It's almost like they didn't know what to do with her. That's what I noticed when I watched.
They don't know what to do with their hair at all. It keeps going like bigger. Wait till we get to like season 3, episode 1. It's gonna get way worse.
Her bun is like almost as tall as like her forehead.
It's like Bride of Frankenstein times.
She could be in like friggin' Addams Family, dude. Like,
I was like, what was going on? Like, I get you were just wear your hair back, but it's like she's got a can of hairspray or something going on.
It's almost like she had a hat under her hair.
Is Jaemeel with us?
He got him. What a guy.
Your guys' discussion is the best thing about Star Trek today. Honestly.
This is the we're breaking down this episode, Jaemeel. Shadowplay.
We're breaking down barriers. We're breaking down shadows.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You just see me drift. Like drift. Oh my gosh.
We
You know what storyline we haven't talked about enough? Kira and Bareil.
Gosh.
Okay, can we talk about Spring Ball?
I thought we talked about it like literally more than we should have.
Is Spring Ball like? Is that more like soccer or is that more like racquetball?
I think it's like racquetball. Squash. Let's say it's like squash.
Because you can play it in a Cardassian occupation refugee camp, even a really bad one, which is where Bareil's implied to have been from, right?
It's squash because she had the headband on. She had a headband.
She had the headband, but he didn't have a headband.
Yeah, that's why he lost.
Maybe he took off the headband.
No.
What about the scene here, guys, with Odo, where he's talking about like when people found out like I was a changeling, they always asked me to like do different things, but they never really liked me. They just liked what I could do.
Great scene. Great scene.
I think it was good.
I think Rene Beaujean is excellent.
And he realizes that she does like him, and then he changes for her. He resists the whole time.
Yeah,
Sure.
like I think that if the one playing the girl wasn't as good as she is in it, I think the way he plays off of it, I don't, and then there's also like this music that is kind of what drives the emotion of it. Like it all works together, and pretty well. It holds up, I think. Even for
She
what
must
it
have
is.
got nominated for like a young child award for performance.
Yeah, like what's her name again? It's Noli Thornton. I don't know if she went on to do much in her adult life, but
She became Lady Gaga.
yeah, she went on to voice work. It says here more and stuff like that.
Good for her.
Yeah. Anyway, it's the biz on Noli Thornton. Drink that whole bottle, Jaemeel Robinson. We're talking about Kira now. Who's better, Kira or Dax?
They give Kira more to do.
Kira would be proud of Dax would be proud of her at the end where she's like, I stuck it to
Quark?
No, I stuck it to that's later on. I stuck it to Quark, and then I stuck it to Bareil.
Bareil. Yeah, she got her cake in '82, right? She like
the Quarks to tell him off. She's like, wait here, I got business to deal with Quark, and then she goes across the way, tells off Quark, and then goes back to him.
I do like I caught you, and I got laid a bunch.
It was a good day for Kira.
It was a good day for Kira. That moment's good. I think that the fact that Quark bribed that priest to bring Bareil there in the first place was kind of clever writing. It's better on paper than I think it was in execution because I
don't think the episode was as well executed as far as like what it wanted to accomplish, but it had some okay moments.
I enjoyed it. Not much happens, really.
Yeah, that's it. Not much happens.
If you verbally told me what this episode was about, I would say this sounds kind of interesting. I could see that you can get a lot of work done. But then it's in execution, it is boring.
Okay, but do you agree with Jody's statement here where he says, like Discovery, you should have started on season 3. So would you skip all this? If you could throw it away and we start season 3 with what it is, where Cisco's going to show up at the station with the Defiant and they don't explain anything. We're just here we go. Would you like it better?
I think if you put season 1 and season 2 into one season and took out all the bad episodes, I think you could do that. But
so you wouldn't throw out would you throw the baby out with the bathwater, if you will, like so to speak, like to what was the juice worth the squeeze in all these episodes? We're almost done the second season. The
juice was.
Sorry, I don't think so because a lot of Star Trek fans dropped off of this show in the first 2 seasons and didn't watch it.
Right, myself included. At the time, like I wasn't really devoutly watching Deep Space Nine until Worf came into the show, and then I was kind of back in, right, and until the end of it.
Well, you got to remember, at this time, Next Gen was doing some really great episodes as well, and they didn't really measure up.
You can tell Deep Space Nine is treading water here in season 2, where they are just a show trucking along, waiting for the next generation to end. so they could take all their writers and their producers and actually, really integrate them into their show. Because right now, I just think they were getting all like the D scripts from TNG, and they're like, "Here you go make a story on the Gamma Quadrant about holograms or something," and maybe like Odo has a nice moment, and then you have Dax. She'll be there,
and get Kira. She's dating the priest man for a while.
Get Kira to tell off Quark. You've had Odo telling Quark off the whole time. Get Kira to do it. Maybe we'll do that.
Her backup. She's backup Odo.
Maybe, and meanwhile she'll be banging Vedic Baral. Okay, and then maybe I got an idea. Jake doesn't want to go Starfleet Academy, but his dad really does. So like you got that whole thing, and then that's an episode. That's this episode.
Where's the storyline, Jeff?
That's
the E storyline for this episode. Do you remember
what
the storyline is?
What's the A storyline? The A storyline is the Odo Dax.
Letter E.
The E storyline.
Well, we skipped over D. What's the D storyline?
The D we already talked about is Dax. Dax getting some D, right?
Oh, that's the D storyline? Okay.
D storyline. The E storyline is Bashir and his surveillance work.
Oh, yeah. We get that one scene with Bashir. We forgot all about it. But I would be happy to spy on him for you. Garrick's been teaching me how to spy.
Is Bashir in this episode?
Yeah, you probably went for a piss, Jeff, and you missed it.
When the smile on Kira's face and that laugh after he says that shit, that's played perfectly. You're such an idiot. Like
he's like the one that everybody hates. He's like like everybody. She's like, okay, I will like invite you to my birthday party if you spy on Quark for me. He's like, I'm happy to do it. I'm just I've been
training for years on this.
Yeah,
like,
he wants to be James Bond, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this scene. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes,
it's totally ineffective.
Yeah, he's like, I'd be happy to do it for. She's like, well, not spy on him. Like she's trying to downplay it. He's like, no, I'm in.
Kira does this a lot, and we'll see it coming up throughout the series. How many times does Kira go behind people's backs to do some like shady stuff? Like she does. Like she whenever she does it to Odo at one point. She does it to Cisco. Like
doing this shady stuff. She basically gets him out of her hair.
No, not here, but like, yeah, later on, like she definitely does. Like,
okay.
No, I'm here. Okay. Anything else, guys? Could we move on to fun facts, or should we do fun facts?
I think we broke down all three storylines as much as in terms of what we saw. So yeah, we can move on.
And some that aren't even in this episode,
right? Like the cellos. Brian played the cello.
Fun facts with Jeff. Okay, O'Brien mentions having studied to be a musician before joining Starfleet. He played the cello in The Next Generation, which Dave showed us earlier. In a scene cut from the aired episode, it was mentioned that there was an incident on Brinda 5 where half the population of a village disappeared, and that it was later found that they had been abducted by Orions to work as slaves in their mining camps.
Ooh.
Oh.
The set for the colony was a modified version of that scene in the Next Generation episode Thine Own Self. They're even reusing the sets, guys. This episode was originally to be titled Persistence of Vision, a title later used for a Voyager episode. Writer Robert Hewitt Wolf's original idea involved Dax and O'Brien trapped on an alien planet. They escaped from the prison, but as they attempt to leave the planet, they discover they are in fact still in the prison. They escape again, and this time make it back to Deep Space Nine, but neither of them are entirely convinced that they are in fact free, and probably never will be. Why didn't we get that episode?
Inception.
The what?
Yeah. It's Inception.
I said, why didn't we get that episode? That episode would have been good. Instead, we get Odo crying over a hologram. Okay,
so you're saying that the choices would be this or Inception? That was like the fork in the road, and they went this way.
Yeah.
No, that they were originally going to do an episode where they're like in a prison, and then they break out of the prison only to find out they actually aren't out of the prison, and then they make it all the way back to Deep Space Nine, and then like the cliffhanger is like, oh, did they actually make it out of the prison, or are they still back on the planet?
See.
That was
Inception.
Well, when the next episode picked up, we would know that they did.
right, but
Or why they didn't do it.
But you'd have a whole week to think about it, Dave.
Yeah.
It would be even weirder when they don't address it on the pickup of the next episode.
And then there will be a spinning top, and we'll wonder, will it topple? Okay. Noli Thornton, who plays Taya, had previously appeared as Clara Sutter in the Next Generation episode Imaginary Friend, which we mentioned earlier as well. As Dax, Odo, and Taya investigate the valley, Taya tells the story of a shapeshifter that is challenged to transform into a loaf of bread, does so, and is eaten by his challenger. This bears a striking resemblance to the Puss in Boots fairy tale recorded by Frenchman Charles Perrault. In the tale, The Booted Cat tricks an ogre who can change his shape into changing into a mouse and eats him.
So what are they trying to say? That fairy tales on every planet are effed up and they want to gobble them up or whatever? Like turn into bread and be eaten?
Yeah. And in the Gamma Quadrant, they're real.
True.
This episode establishes that Major Kira has two brothers. You see how we learned something about Kira, even though there was very little going on with Kira in this episode? We still learned something about her.
Well, they pay it off too, right? Like we
started hearing of it.
The episode later on remember where she went back in time and saw her mom having the thing with the cot?
Yeah.
Right? We saw the two brothers were there.
That's right.
So they kept faithful to that. Plus, we had the 5 years flashback scene with Odo earlier this season. So they do way more with Kira in her character, but she doesn't have this whole 7 lifetime backstory, and she also is kind of on her home turf in near Bajor, more so than the rest of them.
Yeah, but I feel like her character is way more developed than the Dax character.
Sure.
O'Brien says his father introduces him as Senior Chief Specialist Miles Edward O'Brien. In the U.S. Navy, Senior Chief Petty Officer is an enlisted rank. In Star Trek, it is the first reference to O'Brien's full rank. This changes, however, a year and a half later in Hippocratic Oath, when Goran Agar identifies O'Brien as a Chief Petty Officer, which is one step down from a Senior Chief. However, this can be attributed to O'Brien's father's deliberately exaggerating or the U.S. Navy practice of all grades of Chief Petty Officer being considered part of the Chief Petty Officer community. That was a lot of Chief Petty Officers, I had to say.
Right. Well, it's kind of like how you would call a lieutenant commander just a commander, sort of by short. That's all it really means. You can default, or you don't have to. When you say lieutenant junior grade, you can kind of drop the junior grade part.
He's not a full chief, but you still can call him chief because chief's in the name. Okay. Robert Hewitt Wolf is extremely proud of this story, particularly the thematic connections between A, B, and C stories, and also G, D, E, F, J, N, and Q stories.
Were all 3 of these worthy of the title Shadowplay?
Yeah, all 10 of them were. Okay, so this episode marks the first reference to the Bajoran sport of spring ball in the series, Dave. Your beloved sport, spring ball.
It's not my beloved. If you can play, I just want to know more about it.
You want to play?
You want to wear a headband. That's all you need to know.
That's right. Kenneth Tobey, who plays Rorigan, is one of Ira Stephen Bear's all-time favorite actors.
Okay. Was that why he was cast?
I'm guessing that didn't hurt. Renee Auberjonois and Kenneth Mars both provided voices for Disney's The Little Mermaid in 1989. Auberjonois voiced Lois, the French chef, and Mars voiced Ariel's father, King Triton. I didn't know Odo did voices in Little Mermaid. But
I did not know that either.
You watch it and you will absolutely zone in on his voice.
Okay, so this marks the third and final reference to the Dominion before they are finally encountered in the Jem'Hadar, which will come at the end of the season. And that's it for Fun Facts with Jeff.
Okay, well, let's get to ratings with Dave. So,
That was a lot less epic.
Moving on to ratings with Dave. Let me bring up my Excel
my
power chart over
spreadsheet.
here.
who wants to see a big spreadsheet? Averages will be calculated. Hold on to your seats, everybody.
Jaemeel, what is your rough median average based off all your Star Trek votes?
We have a bell curve going on here. Let's get this going. So, Shadowplay. Kevin, do you want to go first?
Sure. Give it a 5. Middle of the road.
Did Ashley give you a rating?
She did not.
All right, let's move on to Jaemeel.
4.5.
4.5, you say?
Knockout.
Okay. All right. Jeff?
4.
4. Okay, I'm going 7.5.
I'm sorry.
So-
you can have a mediocre episode, but if it bores me, that's the worst thing you can do.
7.5.
Is it not worthy?
Only Kevin gave it
I
a passing.
feel bad for this episode.
It has a 7.4 on IMDb, but I didn't know that till a second ago. So, well, you disagree with my choice?
Obviously, I gave it a 5.
You can say you can rate it however you want to rate it.
We all disagree with each other.
Yeah,
It's okay. That's why we have averages. Don't worry, things level out.
Oh, I thought it was the worst of all you, I guess.
Yeah, so 5.3 is what this gets overall. That's below average, still well below average. It has a 7.4 on IMDb, which is above average. So a lot of the audience agrees with me, everybody, that this is not that bad of an episode. And it has a 6.3, which is
A lot of
below
Star Trek
average
nerds that took the time to actually vote on IMDb. Agree.
on Shadowplay. There are some big Shadowplay, not maybe enthusiasts, but they think it's pretty good.
Yeah, 1,450, all 56 of them. All those people that took the time to vote this. That's not that many.
In the grand scheme of things, it's not. No, it's very few. So what do we have next, Jeff? We have Playing God is the next episode.
That's correct. Playing God is about a Trill named Arjun who comes to DS9 to learn what it is to be a Trill with a symbiont.
What? This is like crazy. We were saying we need more Stacks character development, and guess what we're going to get?
We're gonna get Arjun character development.
We're gonna get Arjun, and then we're gonna talk about some of Dax's hosts.
Yep.
With a symbiont, but finds his teacher Dax to be less than he expected. Yeah, so we're gonna get a bunch of Dax stuff, but it's really not gonna be about Dax at all. It's gonna be Dax explaining who this guy is. Okay. This season 2. We're getting through it, guys. Episode 17 is next. We're paddling along. Row your boat gently down the stream here as we continue this 3.5-year journey talking about the show. We're almost there, guys. Once we turn that corner and it's season 3, I think.
I don't know. You got to remember, I just finished watching all of this in a row with Ashley. Every season has strings of episodes that are less than
Not quite as good.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. They do. But
This isn't
I think-
sweeps week. They weren't worried about the.
when things get going in season 3 and season 4, I think we're really gonna get excited because we're gonna get out of this Monster of the Week episode format, which is what it's not what DS9 is known for. We keep getting TNG light right now here in season 1 and 2. And once we break out of TNG, that whole mold of what Star Trek is, We're gonna get some great things. So let's go. We're gonna plug some things here coming up here on our channel, Live Long Podcast and Superman and Bros Podcasting. We're talking about all sorts of different things coming up this week. Tomorrow we got Ted's Trek. Dave, I picked out the episode this week. We're doing Amok Time. Kevin, Jaemeel, Amok Time. What do you think?
It's a great episode.
See, Kevin, same wavelength.
The music is the best part of the episode.
The music's so good in that. Yeah. That we've never done that on radio theater, but it would be. I would have to pull all that music.
That would be fun.
For sure.
With kazoos, friend.
With kazoos.
Okay, so that's Wednesday. Ted Trek, we're doing a mock time. On Thursdays, they're still covering Star Trek Discovery. What episode number are you on right now, Dave?
Going into 10. We're finishing up this week the second of the two-parter, Terra Firma. It is well, I don't want to spoil too much about season 3, but we might be back in some mirror universe activity here. There's this season of Star Trek Discovery, quite a bit going on, lots to digest each week. If you're a fan of the bigger universe, the canon, the lore, they are going in new directions. And so if you just kind of want to know what's going on in the 32nd century, it's kind of interesting to check it out. So check that out. Thursday night, 10:20, Adam and Michael and I.
Okay, and also be sure to, if you haven't caught our performance of Star Trek 4, Voyage Home? If you haven't caught that performance, it's over there on Live Long and Podcast on the Facebook page, on the YouTube page. You can catch and re-listen to a great reenactment. It only took us about 2 to 3 hours to do it, but it was totally worth it because... What's that?
There's a radio edit, Jeff. There's a radio edit, and it's only 2 hours and 4 minutes, the whole listen. So it's it's a lot more. Took out after you you tighten it up a bit, like the episode it plays quite quickly.
You chops down some fat. How was it, like an extra 40 minutes you chopped down?
It was probably more like 20, I'd say.
Oh wow,
20 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah, because there was time we were off the air, prepping and getting ready, but it wasn't.
Right. Okay. Do we have any more radio theater coming up, or we're on hiatus?
Well, we just finished up season 1. Season 2 will start in 2021, which is only a month away. We just haven't picked our season 2 debut. So it's but we're just for those of us who develop posters and scripts each week and all that. It's hey, it's we had a 25-week in a row. Rod, we need a break for Christmas.
So
right. Okay.
This is the perfect time for people who missed out on episodes to go back and fill in the gaps.
Right.
Yeah.
And another show that you can go back and watch is Trivial Debates. If you want to watch Chris Seymour lose every time, Trivial Debates is the show for you.
You want to see the Washington Wizards of Trivial Debates? Check out Chris Seymour.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to see the Cleveland Browns of Trivial Debates.
Speaking of Charlie Brown and Lucy in the football.
Brantford's own Chris Seymour.
I got a nice music
The
question.
only difference is that with Seymour, Lucy holds the ball and he just misses it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm disqualifying you from this question. Oh my
Okay. Well, I think that's it. So, is there any Trivial Debates coming up?
There is one. There's going to be one this month. Jody's hosting, and I know Eamon's on it. So
Okay.
Awesome.
But the other two contestants to be booked.
Are you competing?
I don't think I'm going to go head to head with Eamon. So I will. But maybe I think Adam's going to go in maybe, and we'll see who the next one is. So.
Seymour.
Well, yeah, we would need Chris in there. Yeah,
Chris will
we'll
lose. Yeah, you might
Chris,
as well.
it's gonna be Chris, Adam, and Eamon. I don't know. It wouldn't be fair.
He's already dead.
Already done.
Yeah.
He's got no chance.
I think Adam, next time he's on, he's really found his groove at the latter part of the the competition.
Yeah, because he never listened to the show or knew what it was, so he was kind of figuring out how it worked as we were going.
A good
he's like-
good tip: listen to the show prior to be on it. Just a suggestion. Jody's
Okay.
tough. Jody's tough.
Jody's yeah, he's gonna make you earn it. So we
yeah.
will do that at the end of this month. I just haven't picked the day in, but we will. Yep.
Jody
Super Mater Brothers podcast. Check that out too.
Super Mater, yeah, we're kind of waiting for a show to come back that we like, but we will eventually be doing a Mr. Robot rewatch. But
Josh Foster wants us to cover the challenge, Jeff, but I don't think we have it.
that's too much work. I mean, even covering Big Brother is tough, but doing the challenge is just like
We have Big Brother Canada coming up in the.
We have Big Brother Canada coming, Jeff.
Yeah.
I can do Big Brother Canada. I can't do Big Brother Australia or UK or any of that stuff. Survivor Australia or any of that stuff. That's too much.
What about the Circle?
No.
The Circle was good. I liked the Circle.
The Circle. If the Circle comes, I want to do the Circle. Kevin, you want to do the Circle?
No.
It's like no.
All right.
I'm
That
perfectly
guy,
my life not watching the Circle.
that guy looks like he's got a nice toothbrush. Shuby.
Shuby.
I think Donald Trump should do the Circle next. Try to convince somebody he's not Donald Trump.
Yeah, catfish. Yeah,
That'd be catfish. That's what he does. Anyway, sorry, not to get political.
Okay, for all of us here at Live Like a Podcast, Deep Space 9 at 9-ish is
Good. Oh, so buttery smooth.